Hello again, everyone. Today I am going to be profiling what I consider to be some of the best of my handmade watercolors that I have decided to put all together in one palette. As you can see, it's a little vintage palette that's super cute. I just got this off of Etsy. I think it had some paint pans in it before, and then I just took them out, and you'll see in a minute how I was able to put them in here. So they're all laid out like that, and then I did have a few smaller pans of handmade watercolor that I put up here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be swatching this entire palette. I figure it's one of those days where I need a little bit of comforting, like swatching watercolors, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. So let me go ahead and put some water on all of these, and I'm going to be using my Raven brush today from Jackson's. This is the 10/0, and it's my favorite brush from Jackson's that I've gotten. I realized that I've been doing all of my swatches with just sort of the standard brush that I have on my desk, which is not the brush I ever use for painting. This is one that I use a lot for painting. I tend to like the Quill Brushes a lot. Most of them are a little bit softer than sort of your standard brush, although this is really nice because it's got a good, it's like in the middle ground basically, where it's not too soft but not too hard for painting, and then this particular size works really well for most of the things I paint. All right, but I thought I would use this today to kind of show off, because this holds a lot of water and a lot of these are granulating, so this will enable those granulation traits to come out a little bit more. So what I'm going to do for now, is I'm just going to put a drop of water on each of these. And I usually do that with either the brush or you can also use a spray bottle. Because this does hold so much water, I can do several colors at a time. But most of these don't require a lot of help to get wet or to get going. So I usually just kind of start painting and then let them get wet while I'm using them. But this does allow them to be ready to go straight away. And they vary. Some of them are a little bit easier to get going than others. All right, we're almost there at the end. Let's do these green ones. And then I'm going to add some to these little pans up here, and I will tell you what brand all of these are. It's mostly 3 different brands, but there are some, or at least one, A Gallo color in here. So although I'm calling this sort of the best of my handmade watercolors, I do have a separate palette of all A Gallo watercolors, which I also think is one of the best handmade watercolors, but I do have a separate palette for that because I do have so many of them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side here. I want to leave them in the order that they're in here, and this is sort of a preview of what you're going to see. Here I have swatched all of these here, and then I have the ones that are on the top back here. All right, so let's get started. Okay, this first one is by the brand Deshali. Well, that might even have been too much water there. And this is their cave color. I've definitely profiled this person quite a few times on my channel. She is in Germany. And this is also a Deshali color. This is petrichor. So we'll see. Well, as we go, we'll probably see what's too much water and what's just right. So this next one is by Deep Deep Light, which is definitely one of my favorite handmade makers. And this color is called Bark. You can see this brush lays down so much water, and once these dry, you're really going to be able to see the granulation. Looks like I have a little bit of stuff there on my page. Okay, so this next one is another deep, deep light color called Asphalt, which is also really super beautiful. I've been really drawn to granulating neutrals. Actually, granulating anything really, but granulating neutrals are especially nice. This next one is really sort of an outlier. It's the only sparkle color I have in here. This is by a company called Ruby Mountain, and this is called Glimmer Violet. And I don't use this very often. I'm really mostly using this for, you know, like a little splatter over the top or something like that. Okay, and then this next one is by another brand called Masha's, which is definitely one of my favorite handmade watercolor brands, because look at that. I mean, that is just gorgeous. They re-wet super easily. Oh, whoops, I was going into the same color. Don't want more than one swatch of the same color. Now we're going back to deep, deep light, and this is Elderflower. I think with deep, deep light, there are some colors that I like better than others, but they're all really good quality. Okay, and this is another deep, deep light in Gold Ochre. And then this is another one by Deshali. This one is called Lion Queen. It's a really beautiful pigmented sort of sienna color. All right, and then we're going back to some Masha's here. And this is her flame color, which is really awesome. You know, if you don't like granulation, you're not going to like Masha's watercolors, because they are like super granulating, which is why I love them. Okay, so this is deep, deep light. This is English Red. And then there's another deep, deep light, which tends to be somewhat of a lighter color. This is Gerta's Pink. You can see it fades pretty quickly. And there is a little bit of glare here because of my light. I'm going to tilt those that way, but then I'm also going to put all of these close up to the camera at the end as well. Okay, and this is Masha's Peach. It's kind of pink for a peach color, but I really like it. And then we have Deep, Deep Light in Cranberry. And you can really see with the addition of all this water, like this is really granulating nicely. These are really granulating nicely. This one I probably didn't have enough water, so it's granulating still, but probably could have gotten some more interesting stuff going on. All right, and this next one is Deshali Priority, which is a very bright pink. And I think I've swatched this one before. It's another Deshali watercolor. It's called a fire pan. So basically, as you go through the pan, the colors will change. So this is just the color that's on the top right now. And then we have Masha's Dark Planet. Oops. I didn't go too far into the pan because I know Masha's watercolors are pretty intense. Okay. And then Masha's again with Weathered Rose. So interesting how I run out of space, even though the same number of colors. All right, and this next one is a really awesome one. It's not always available. It's Ruby Mountain Twilight Purple. So there's a lot of, there's like a little splash of teal on the top here. So that that seems to be coming out more than the purple at this point, because the water is there diluting the teal on the top, but it makes for this really, really beautiful, almost like grayish color, which I really, really like. Okay, This next one is Deep, Deep Light Rose Ashes. Another Deep, Deep Light in Cherry, like the cherry blossom. We have Masha's Ultramarine Purple, which is a really nice deep purple. I'm trying to make a little bit more room for those colors at the end. And this next one is Dashali Cinema, which is a super dark color. I almost feel like sometimes these get like a little too saturated if I put water on them ahead of time. That's probably part of the reason why I don't do that all the time, just because they are super intense. Okay, and this next one is kind of an interesting color. It's Deep, Deep Light, and it's called Ruta's Dream. And it looks green when you put it down, but as it dries, it gets to be more of this really deep purple color, which I think is fascinating. Okay, so there is those colors. Okay, the next one is Deep, Deep Light Bilberry. And so I have put all of my Deep, Deep Light colors in here. I think I've also put, this might be all of my Masha's watercolors as well. But I do think I have a couple of Dashali colors that I put elsewhere, mostly like smaller sample sizes that I didn't put in here because I wanted this to be full pans. Okay, and this is another really intense color. This is, I can't even read it because it's so intense. This is Masha's Shadow Purple. I mean, look at that. Really awesome. And then we have Dashali Library, ooh, which is also a really deep color. I forgot how deep that can get. So what's nice about these is you don't have to use a lot. I've actually done some watercoloring with these over cyanotypes, like the white area. So cyanotypes are the blue sort of like photo prints that you make in the sun. It's basically like sun prints, and they're blue and white generally. And the white is where you've covered it up with something like branches or leaves or something like that. And I have painted the white parts of some of my cyanotypes with these, and I think the granulation works really well because I generally do cyanotypes on watercolor paper. So that one is Deep, Deep Light Lavender, and it worked really well with that. Okay, and this is Masha's Turquoise Violet. And this is another one that sort of changes a little bit as it dries. It looks pretty blue when it goes on, but it does have a little bit of purple in there as well. And this next one is Deep, Deep Light Ultramarine, French Ultramarine at that. Really beautiful, highly granulating ultramarine blue. Can I get two more rows? Yeah, I think I probably can. Okay, and this next one is the only one that I have in here that is particularly hard to re-wet. It is Lapis Lazuli, which tends to be a color that is hard to re-wet in pretty much every brand you can get it in. It's a natural blue color. And then this is the one Gallo color that I have in here, which is my absolute favorite Gallo color, which is Zirconium Blue. It has such an intense, awesome granulation. It's really good for mixing. It makes really nice sky color just on its own. I really love it. All right, and then we have Deep, Deep Light Blueberry, which is almost like a grayish blue. And then there is Deep Deep Light Blue Jay, which is one of my favorite Deep Deep Light colors. This, I only dipped it slightly because I didn't want it to be super dark, but I'm going to add a little bit more pigment here because it can get really, really dark. All right, and then we have Masha's Deep Sea. I have a lot of colors that look similar to this in this palette. Like these two are pretty similar, and I have some more coming up that are pretty similar as well. Okay, and this is Dashali Fog, which is a really super lovely gray. Great mixing color. And then we have what I think is probably my favorite Masha's color, or did I already declare that for a different color? If I did, this one is really my favorite. This is Blue Iron, which does have a little tiny bit of sparkle, which I don't know what the sparkle is coming from, whether it's from the pigment itself or if it's something added, because I didn't see it in the list of pigment stuff. Okay, and this is Deep Deep Light, and this is an indigo from India. So this would probably not be 100% light fast. I think the Lapis Lazuli is light fast. I think this might be the only one in here that I'm aware of that would not be light fast. Okay, this is Dashali Rain City, which is an absolutely beautiful dark teal. And then we have another similar one from Dashali, which is January Forest. It's much greener though. It's almost like a misty green, dark green forest. And this is kind of my favorite Dashali color of late, which is Danube. And I want to make sure that that gets spread out because it really granulates in a lovely way. Okay, and then we have Deep Deep Light Forest Green, and it looks like I'm going to have to go to the other page to continue. It's Forest Green. We're almost done. We only have a couple more rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just prop this up and do it here. Hopefully that won't drip. So then we have Deep Deep Light Cedar Teal. Oops. It's a really nice color too. Next one is Deep Deep Light Juniper Shadow. That's really super beautiful. The next one is Deep Deep Light River. They're all very similar. And then I have Masha's Cobalt Green Hue, which is another really lovely color. Let's see, how many did I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. And then I have Masha's Shadow Green, which is really a beautiful granulating color. Okay. And this is Dashali Olive Oil. Let me make sure that I can get my hand positioned so that this will pull out correctly. Olive oil, let me add a little bit more pigment up there. Okay. We have Deep Deep Light Solstice Fern. So I ended with green in this palette. The next one is Masha's Serpent Green. Actually, this is one that really granulates well as well. sure have some good variety there. And then the last one of the main pans is Dashali Rain and Honey, which is similar to the olive oil color, but is a little bit brighter. This makes a great leaf color. And one of the great things about these colors being so saturated is you really don't need to use a lot of paint. I mean, I've been using these quite a bit lately and they've hardly depleted, so that's kind of nice. All right, so I'm actually going to go the opposite direction here. I'm going to start with the green on this little row here. These I only have the Dashali watercolors that are in the shells. I only have numbers for. So this is Dashali 119, which is like one level yellower in the green progression here. Okay, let's do this next one is Masha's Ocean Wave. Oops, should get a little bit more pigment there. Ocean Wave. The next one is Masha's Shadow Snow. And really why I ended up getting the little quarter pan, like the hearts from Masha's, is because she didn't have the whole pan. I would prefer the whole pan. All right, and then we have Dashali number 15, which is a really nice, deep, sort of turquoisey color. It's actually very similar to Shadow Snow. Then we have Dashali number 26, which is nice to have in here because I don't have like a really true red like this. So this is good to have. And you never need much of it. So it's kind of nice to just have a little palette to dip in, or a little pan to dip in. Okay, this next one is, and the last one, Masha's Sand, which is a really nice sort of neutral color. It's almost like an ochre, like a yellow ochre, but it's sort of like in between titanium buff and yellow ochre, which you can't really see because of the glare. Okay, let me tilt that so you can see those. All right, now I'm gonna go back to the beginning here. I'm not gonna rename them because, you know, that was kind of tedious. I don't think you want that again. But you can see like this one, which, well, I will tell you what that one is because I'm mentioning it. That is Masha's Tiger's Eye. Really nice and granulating. This one is super nice and granulating as well. That's the deep, deep light bark color. Petrichor by Dashali, really super nice and granulating. Let's see, this one ended up being really nice. I don't know that this has granulated as much as this before. Which one is that? Oh, that's Deep, Deep Light Cranberry. Okay, because I guess I've always gotten sort of a lighter swatch of that, but it looks very nice. And then here is that, let's see, which color was that? So, okay. So this is that Ruta's Dream. So remember how I was saying it went down green and then showed up kind of purple when it dried? It's just really kind of cool. I don't know which pigments do that, but but it's really neat. But all of these have really nice granulation. Here is one of my favorites from the Deep Deep Light brand, which is that J Blue. You get a lot of sort of black granulation in there. And this is that, I'm gonna put that even closer there. That is that Zirconium Blue by A Gallo. And some of these are still drying over here, so they'll probably have more granulation later. And not all of these colors are granulating, but the majority of them are. And I really love this Cobalt Green hue by Masha's. It really has a lovely color. It's a blend of pigments, obviously. Partially, you can tell that partially because of the hue in the name. And then the one that is after that, the really deep green, shadow green dark, also by Masha's, is just gorgeous. And I mean, these are all gorgeous. I don't know that there's one that isn't. But yeah, really, really love all of these. And they're just a joy to paint with. And like I said, they don't require a lot of paint to be used. So like I said, I've been using these for several paintings now, using most of the colors. There are a couple that are relatively new that I haven't used a lot, but I use these a fair bit and they haven't really gone down much because they're just so loaded with pigment. All right. Well, I think that's all I had for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you want to subscribe, that would be great. Then you can keep track of future videos on my channel. I hope to see you next time. But in the meantime, have a great day. Oh, and I did want to mention one last thing before I go. So this, this vintage palette does not have any sort of closure mechanism. And also because these are up here, it kind of makes it not close very well. So I do put a rubber band around this to keep it secure. But this is generally not a travel palette. I kind of use it at home for the most part, and I'm not really using the mixing area. So all the stuff that's in the mixing area, that came like that when I bought it vintage. So I'm usually using another palette to mix colors other than this. All right, well, that truly is it. Have a great day. Hope to see you next time. Thanks. Bye.